Episode 25 of Griddyiron Gang. What we got for you today is a Monday Night Football recap and a Week 12 preview. We'll start off with the Monday Night Football recap, where we had the San Francisco 49ers on the road facing Arizona, but not in Arizona. They were in Mexico City for this one. We had San Francisco pretty much dominating this game from start to finish. We knew coming into the game, Cardinals were going to be without their starting quarterback, Kyler Murray. It really showed. This team was only able to muster up 10 points in this game. Cards helpless. San Francisco could run whenever they wanted to. They could pass whenever they wanted to. Jimmy Garoppolo ends up with 4 touchdowns, 2 to Kittle, 2 to Ayuk. Debo runs one in. McCaffrey didn't have a touchdown, but he had over 100 yards. So this offense was able to do whatever they wanted to do against this Cardinals defense, which has been a problem for this team all season. I mean, when you look at these stats at the end of the game, kind of similar. First downs were similar. Third down conversions were similar, but San Francisco really made the difference in the run game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, outrunning the Cardinals by almost 100 yards in this game. So 38-10, complete domination. What'd you think of this game last night?
Well, I mean, it shows that, it's a San Francisco, bro, they're like the best team in the league, I think, this year with yards after the catch. And Arizona is one of the worst teams, preventing additional yards after receptions. So, we factor that in. I mean, it was clear as day with those touchdowns they got, 39, 32, 39-yard rush by Debo. So, I mean, they were just doing what they wanted, at times. And I think San Fran has something special going on with that backfield rotation with Elijah Mitchell and CMC. You got CMC averaging 5.6 yards per carry, while Mitchell averaged 6.6 yards per carry. And Shanahan, it's like pick your poison, because he leaned on CMC in the first half, and then he leaned on Elijah Mitchell in the second half to close it out. So when especially down the stretch in the playoffs, man, going into the playoffs. And in the playoffs, like, that's a huge thing to have, because they got 2 workhorse backs, and it's going to be tough to stop them. So, Arizona's battling a lot of injuries, but I think even if they were fully healthy that game, I still feel comfortable saying San Fran would have taken care of them, just because of you look at the overall season Arizona's having, and it's pretty brutal. Like, nothing's going right. It's just missed tackles after missed tackles, and shoot, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, because now you got Hard Knocks in season, and so we're seeing a little bit of frustration go on in the locker room. You got Budda Baker giving a passionate speech after a home game, and he's tired of losing, especially at home. And I don't know. I just don't think. I think when you have Kyler Murray in there, I know he's been out the past couple games, but when you have him in there, and as the quarterback of your team, he's got a lot of growing up to do. I mean, he's not there as a leader. He's, pointing fingers, blaming his coach, yelling at D-Hop on the sideline. I mean, there's just it's a little frustrating to watch, and I don't really have a lot of respect for him right now. So, one thing that sticks out to me is, even though AJ Green's kind of up there in age, I think he's very underutilized in this offense. I mean, when you got D-Hop, I know you got Rondale Moore. Robbie Anderson is Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. But the Robbie Anderson trade was just terrible. He's a non-factor for them.
Not working out at all.
It's not looking good. But I think AJ is very underutilized, and they need to somehow work him in more to complement AJ Green.
I agree. He's not the superstar he used to be, but he's very consistent.
Yeah, I mean, he's made a lot of he's made quite a few clutch receptions for them.
For sure.
One being that 2-point conversion in the back of the end zone against the Vegas Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
He still comes up with big plays. He might not have the same speed, but he's a big body. He can still catch the ball really well, and he can produce touchdowns. So I don't know the reasoning behind it or what's going through Kingsbury's head, but Kingsbury's definitely got to be on the hot seat right now, because it's rough to watch because they do have a lot of talent over there. But I just don't think that Steve Keim and Kingsbury has built this roster to complement each other in all areas of football. It's just been like, and they hit on that in Hard Knocks when I watched the first 2 episodes. Like, complementary football for them is just not there this year. It was more so last year, obviously, when they had a good start to the season, but they're looking you can pretty much count them out of the playoffs at this point. But going back to San Fran, I think I mentioned this to you in a text message, but I really think that San Fran is probably my favorite right now to come out on top and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I think adding Christian McCaffrey was a huge boost to that team, and he's a workhorse in the backfield, but he does a lot of the same things that Debo has. I mean, you have two guys like that for a quarterback like Jimmy. It's man, that's deadly. And I don't think we'd be talking about him at least the way I am right now, if Trey Lance had been in there all year long. So
I agree.
It's one of those things. But there was a little interesting tidbit though I did find on this stat for Jimmy G is this was his first game throwing 4 touchdowns since Week 14 of 2019 season when they went on to the Super Bowl. So that's kind of, he's got the weapons there this year like he had. I would say this is even a better team than that year. Their defense is elite, if not near elite. It's just they just make huge plays after huge plays on the defensive side of the ball. And when you got a guy on the defensive line like Bosa leading the way, pressuring the quarterback, it's just the sky's the limit for this team. And I feel like this team, them being, what are they, 6-4 right now? 6-4. I truly think they feel more like a 7-3, 8-2 team than 6-4.
If you scratch that first loss against Chicago,
which I think if they had the team out there right now that they do now, if they had the team out there that game that they do now, I think they easily come away with that victory.
I think one of the scary things about this team, outside of Jimmy throwing for 4 touchdowns, but I don't think that's going to be the case going forward. Ayuk has probably been their best offensive player.
And he's still getting better.
We mentioned Kittle had 2 touchdowns. Debo Samuel had a rushing touchdown. McCaffrey didn't have any, but we know those guys are all pro kind of guys. And if Ayuk's going to be your best player, and him and Mitchell probably 1 and 3 as far as your best players have gone so far this season, you're going to be dangerous as hell. Because like you said, that defense, top 5 in the league. You have 2-3 elite guys on that side of the ball. As long as they're healthy, they're one of the best coaches in the league. And I know Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the weakness, but it's a unique situation. He grew up under Bill, and he's been in big playoff games, Super Bowls before. So
I really
not one of those guys that's inexperienced.
Yeah, and I really love Shanahan as a coach.
Yeah.
I think he's just a mastermind all around, especially with that offense. And the thing why I am leaning towards more San Fran than Philly is if they do meet up, say in the NFC Championship, Jimmy's been there multiple times.
Yeah.
And Jalen hasn't. So we have yet to see what Jalen's going to do under that immense pressure.
And that's what I was getting at. Even though neither of those guys are elite, Jimmy has been there. So you have more confidence, even though you probably feel Jalen Hurts is the better quarterback.
Right. I do feel Jalen is the better quarterback, but I think Jimmy is he's the perfect. They could do better, obviously, at the quarterback position than Jimmy, but I think he fits them so well because Shanahan knows him better than anyone, and he knows his strengths, his weaknesses, and it's showing game after game now. And Jimmy, he can have those tendencies sometimes to make crucial mistakes, but he's a guy who passes for. If I can get 250 to 275 yards passing and a couple of touchdowns out of him, I'm feeling good about our chances of winning.
Yeah. I think they're 4th right now in the NFC, now leading the NFC West.
Yeah, I think what happened, because as the playoff seeding stands right now, Seattle bumped down to 7, so they'd be playing Minnesota at Minnesota.
Yeah, saw that.
And then it would be, I think it was Dallas 5 playing Tampa 4.
Yeah.
And then you got Giants 6 going to 3 seed San Fran.
Oh, they're 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Tampa is 5-5, so that makes sense. Hey, that'd be interesting. I was going to ask you about that Minnesota matchup because if it stays the way it is right now, we have Buffalo in the first round. I said that to you, and I'm like, give me a fucking break.
I think Minnesota's best chances is starting off a home game in the playoffs against a team like Seattle. I think that's our best chance to get one game under our belt in the playoffs.
An experienced team,
and especially at home with a loud crowd. But
last time you played Seattle in the playoffs, you tricked the field goal, didn't you?
Yeah, in 2000, I think it was the 2015-2016 season where Blair Walsh shanked that
8-yard field goal.
Yeah, I'll never understand it. But, it's the key for Minnesota is holding on to at least that 2 seed because they need to be playing at home. I mean, they just in the playoffs, I think they need that home field advantage and to feel comfortable. Because if we're having to go to Philly or San Fran or Dallas or whatever the case may be, it's going to be pretty bleak in terms of optimism. But it's just the San Fran team is just, I just love everything about them. And I think the biggest thing is with all those weapons on offense, their defense is even better. Mm-hmm. So that's a scary team. And if I'm any NFC team, I don't want to play San Fran because especially say San Fran's got to go to Philly for an NFC Championship. San Fran's not going to be scared of it. They went into Lambeau and throttled the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau in cold weather, hostile crowd. Like they're not going to be scared of anyone.
Jimmy said, "Fuck the Packers."
Like San Fran has got the makeup and the mentality of a team that they're going to say, "Bring it on," because we're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. They've been there before, man. They have a really good coach, really good defense, run game, weapons on offense,
and they have the best.
Been there before.
They have the best, I think, makeup of weapons on offense to really kind of put a beating on that Philly defense.
And they're a team that doesn't need to be 14-3. They deal with these injuries to their key players every year. They go into the playoffs 9-7, and they get to the NFC Championship game. They get to the Super Bowl, and they're a tough out for everybody that plays them. They upset Dallas last year.
I've said it from the beginning of the season. They're the one team that I don't want to face in the playoffs. Like they have that fucking toughness to them that is just you don't like going up against. Like they will punch you in the mouth and smother you. So it's just like I feel more comfortable saying them as the NFC representative in the Super Bowl right now. And obviously there's still a lot of season left to, change my mind. But if they stay healthy, I don't see anyone beating them out in the NFC.
Tough formula, man. I mean, Philly and you guys, I think, Dallas has a chance too, but
not to mention,
I don't want to react too much off the Arizona game, but
no, because
San Francisco does look very scary.
Arizona's a poor team, but
they are.
The one thing about San Fran is if they're a really good team, like they think they are, and that what we're saying they are, they should go out and dominate like they did against Arizona, which they did. So it's
not playoff teams though.
Well, we haven't, their schedule's kind of, softer than some, but I would say that, if it comes down to, I keep using Philly and San Fran as an example because those are the top 2 teams in my head right now of who I like in the NFC the most. But I also, when it comes down to those 2 teams, say in the NFC Championship, I trust Shanahan a hell of a lot more than Sirianni.
Just because Nick hasn't been there before or what?
Yeah, I think it's a makeup. I think, and Philly can have a special year and go on a run and get to the Super Bowl.
Right.
But I just, the way that Philly's been playing the past couple of games, they just seem to be ultra human. Like, what I mean? Like you're not invincible. They're
very beatable. They've looked average these past 2 weeks.
And I think everyone this year has shown that they're very beatable. San Fran included, but also San Fran's got the makeup of, okay, when it's time to go and the playoffs, when it matters most, like we have the capability
that's when they play their best, and that's the thing.
I think Shanahan does a great job throughout the regular season too of keeping things tucked away in his sleeve for the more important games down the road. Like he's very methodical when it comes to his approach to certain games and showing stuff that you haven't seen on film all year. I mean, he's got stuff in his back pocket, especially since he got CMC. I mean, Elijah Mitchell's healthy now. You know what they do with Debo, so it's just like it's going to be pick your poison because they got every spot covered on that offense.
Juwan Jennings, they have depth. They don't have to wear these guys out like they had to wear Debo out last year.
And Jimmy's just got to put it in their hands.
Yep.
So
always a question mark, but if he can play like half of what he did last night, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think it's it's going to be a fun, interesting ride the rest of the season to see how this shakes out because, it could come down. I mean, they're 6-4, so they're not far away from a 2 or 1 seed. So it's just a matter of how things shake out. And, I think their best opportunity, I mean, I'd fear them more so if they were a 3 seed, because I think they like that pressure of having to go on the road at some point.
They're not scared of anything, man. They've been there, they've done that. They had a Super Bowl in their back pocket before Mahomes put out some magic out his ass. So,
and that's all, and it always comes down to, you get late in the season, cold weather games, and it's been a long season already, and you start seeing more injuries trickle, down, from team to team, and it's just we don't know how this season is going to shake out still. So it's going to be very interesting, because like I said, it's been a crazy NFL season, and I think every team has shown that on any given Sunday, anyone can go out and beat anyone, except for maybe the handful of really bad teams.
Yeah, you mentioned that cold weather, and this is the last thing I'll say before we move on to Week 12 picks, but the rushing attack they have with McCaffrey and Elijah is dangerous. If you add in Debo and just Shanahan's scheme, you're going to throw Ayuk in there a little bit. You're going to throw Kittle in there a little bit. I know teams like Chicago, Philly, Atlanta are like the really heavy run teams right now, Tennessee. But I think this team is the most creative and can be the most efficient in that aspect. You mentioned the yards per carry for those two guys. What was it, 5.5 and 6 or something like that? If you can get the first down off 2 carries.
And they only carried
you don't even
7
have
and
to
9 times a piece.
Yeah, you don't even have to factor in Jimmy Garoppolo.
And I think the biggest thing that you can do to try to neutralize and take away the overall threats of that offense is really key in and take away Kittle, because when you take away the middle of the field for them, it becomes a little bit more hairy in a sense, because he's one of those go-to factors in that offense where if you need a catch and a tough catch, that's your guy.
Yeah, that's an average quarterback's best friend is a good tight end.
So if you can take him away, from their game plan, then you have a fighting chance.
Yeah, and I didn't even mention him in the run game outside of the run, but he's the best dual threat tight end in the league. So him blocking too is just so dangerous.
And it's going to be key to keep him healthy down this stretch.
Yeah, for sure. That's been his only issue. Anything else before we move on to Week 12 picks?
No, I think that covered it.
Cool. So this week is going to be a little different. No teams on a bye, and Thursday night football, obviously Thanksgiving. We'll have 3 games that night. The first of which being Buffalo Bills at 7-3 on the road, facing the Detroit Lions, coming off 3 wins in a row, overall record of 4-6. I believe Buffalo's losers of 2 of their last 3, winning their last game. So both teams trying to stay on that hot streak, I guess you can call it, win streak, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
But we mentioned yesterday Detroit's going to put up a fight in this game. Don't believe it's going to be a blowout by any means, but I think Buffalo's going to find a way to pull this one out in the end.
Yeah, I think Detroit's going to, battle Buffalo as tough as they can, and I think it's going to be a lot closer of a game than most people may think. But in the end, I just got Buffalo coming away with this because I just think they got the overall better talent, more depth, and Detroit is right now, as it stands, still in the thick of it for the playoffs. But when you got a team like Buffalo coming in on Thanksgiving, short week, I'll take Josh Allen and Diggs, over Goff and St. Brown.
And, not to compare the Lions to the Vikings, but they are coming off a very emotional win, upsetting the New York Giants. It's not like they're beating the Houston Texans or something like that. So I could see a little bit of a letdown. I don't think Dan Campbell's going to allow that to happen. But I just do agree with you that Buffalo's just too...
I'm sorry to cut you off. But I think Detroit, usually they do have a tendency to come out and play really tough on Thanksgiving because that's, their biggest game of the year usually. Yeah. So I think that's the thing about, why I like them to keep it, a close game.
Who gets the turkey leg in this one?
I'm going to go with Diggs.
Ah, you bastard. I was going to go with Diggs too. So I'm going to go with Von Miller instead. Next game, we have the New York Giants at 7-3 on the road at Dallas at 7-3. Dallas coming off a historic victory in their franchise. The Giants coming off a terrible loss to the team we just talked about, the Detroit Lions. I do believe the Giants are going to bounce back, but I think Dallas is overall the better team. I think these teams played earlier in the season when Dak was out of the lineup.
Yep.
I think Dallas is going to go ahead with a sweep on this one.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, especially after witnessing, Dallas put on a clinic against Minnesota in Minnesota. I don't think there's a way I could ever pick against them this week, especially on Thanksgiving. It's one of their biggest games of the year each year. And, the Giants are pretty much the best one-dimensional football team in the league. And I just don't.
Them or the Titans, yeah.
I don't think, it's going to work against this Dallas defense. I think they're.
Yeah. Even though that is their weakness defensively.
Yeah, but I think, I just after this last showing that they had, I just think they're going to get a newfound confidence in themselves. And, it could blow back in their face after having that big of a win and, blowing up your head a little bit, but I don't see that happening. You're at home on Thanksgiving, they look forward to this game each year, and to be a divisional game and you're trying to get that first place spot over Philly, you can't lose this game.
I got Micah Parsons getting the turkey leg. What about you?
Man, if you got to go Micah, because that's obviously the easy choice. I'm gonna go Diggs again. It's a brother special.
That would be fun. I would like to see that. Next game, we have New England at 6-4 on the road at Minnesota 8-2. Similar to I said. I don't even understand. Similar to how Dallas bounced back after their loss to the Packers in historic fashion, blowing a 14-point lead going into the fourth. I believe you guys are going to bounce back the same way, handle the Patriots in similar fashion. Maybe not 37-point victory. I see this about 17, a pretty easy victory over a solid defensive team.
Yeah, for me, after that kind of ass whooping we took against the Cowboys, which I don't think if we played that game again, I don't think it ends up the same way. But I think this is the wake up call they needed. I think they're in a great spot for a really good bounce back game. And I think we're finally going to get the convincing win that I've been calling for all year long.
Bills wasn't it for you?
No, I'm convincing, meaning we're not in a one-score game down to the wire. This is going to be hey, we put them away. We started fast, we continued strong, and we just put them away. I do like New England's defense.
They can present some problems for you.
But I also, when it comes down to it, their offense is just not explosive enough.
No, Mac Jones ain't it.
And, I just think this Vikings team is going to be raring to go, and I really think that we're going to see a really great game from this, Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith pass rush.
My only concern is you've mentioned to me that you don't think Kirk is great at going through his progressions. So we know Bill's going to take away, or at least try to take away Justin. With that being the case, coupled with the fact that you don't have Darisaw this game,
it's gonna be tricky.
You mentioned Judon and your DPOY conversation a couple weeks ago. It might be ugly off the edge when Diggs or when Justin Jefferson isn't open on that first read.
The key this week has to be putting Kirk in the best position to get the ball out of his hands really quick.
And TJ's got to catch it.
And you got to incorporate TJ, but I think you really got, I know we're at a point where we're Kirk's very comfortable with throwing it up to JJ most times and just letting him go get it because he knows most of the time he's going to come down with it. But I really want to see KJ and Adam more incorporated to really just spread the ball around and keep these defenses guessing because they know JJ is going to be the main guy. But when you still got a guy producing at his age like Thielen is and is trustworthy with catching the ball and is good at catching the ball, tough in traffic, KJ's got to step it up a little bit more. But you got to, we can't, I don't want the stat line of being, 10 catches JJ, 4 for Thielen.
Well, last game, Thielen, JJ, and Hawkinson had 10 combined for 92 yards.
Yeah. So
I'd welcome 10 from JJ, 4 from Thielen.
No, I mean that ultimately is good sign, I think. But for getting into the nitty gritty of this, season and trying to get into the postseason, and you're gonna have to be producing on all levels with every single guy. Like, every team sees us on film now, what we've been doing. It's not good enough. Like, and Dallas exposed everything. Like, you have to get in. I mean, and that's why it's
out here like Antonio Brown exposing y'all.
It's a good thing that it is a short week because, yeah, in a sense, you don't have enough time to dive into the Dallas film and figure out like what the hell went wrong to the fullest extent.
Right.
But it's a short week where, okay, we dive right back into our game plan for the next game. We shake this shit off and we go to work. But at the same time, we have in the back of our head, like, as coaches, we need to figure some shit out because we're not putting our guys in the best possible position to go out there and succeed and win convincingly. Because, like, JJ in his press conference, he mentioned he wished they would have adjusted in the game. Right there, you're pretty much saying we had no adjustments on either side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
We kept going with the play action and getting Kirk hit, sacked, career high many times, like 7 times.
Yep.
So when you are Kevin O'Connell and you're not making in-game adjustments for your offense to, get the ball out quick and try to, even it has to be like a hurry up offense, dink and dunk down your way to the end zone, like, you got to do something because we weren't handling that defensive front very well. So it's got to, I think yes, you want to keep them honest with the run game and play action kind of in a way still, but at the same time, I would have liked to see, okay, hey, we need to be in shotgun pretty much every single time and try to, hit these quick slants or quick in routes or out routes. I don't know. It's just, that was a complete failure and utter mess last game. So I just think you're in a good spot to get a bounce back game. And I think New England obviously presents a lot of challenges with their defense.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're as good of a team as what we believe we are, this has got to be a game where you go out and you put on a show.
I agree. I think both of our offenses look like the Denver Broncos last week, and that's definitely not a sight that I want to see ever again in my life.
It was brutal.
Moving on to Sunday. Speaking of those Denver Broncos, they are 3-7 on the road at Carolina, 3-8. This is probably one of the poopiest games all season. Sam Darnold, you told me he was going to be the starter for Carolina this game. Wow. I have to go Denver. I didn't think I'd be doing this ever again.
I can't bring myself to pick Denver.
Darnold, though?
I think sneakily, I have a sneaking suspicion. I can't talk right now, but sneaking suspicion.
You're going to say whatever I said.
This game, even though Darnold is starting, you got to look at Carolina this way. They're a team who's in like rebuild mode right now. They got an interim head coach who is supposedly might be hired as the permanent guy in the offseason, but they're playing well under him. They're playing for him. They have a solid defense. And I really think Darnold's going to provide somewhat of a spark this game, even if it's just for one game. It's the perfect opportunity to go out there and show them you kind of made a mistake. But yes, he got injured, but bringing in Baker, because Baker has been poo-poo. But you're playing a Denver team who's just utter mess.
They are so good defensively.
They are. But at the same time, you're going to be in a situation where you can go out there and come away with a couple of touchdowns that do it for you. I don't think the way Russell's been playing, the way their offense, I mean, they just cut Melvin Gordon because of his fumbles. I mean, you got Chase Edmonds on IR. Javonte Williams done. This is all true. Yeah. I don't trust Denver in any situation.
Is Judy playing?
I don't know, but you're in your second game with a new play caller.
Yeah.
And based on what I had to go through last year with Clint Kubiak, I don't trust him at all. Even with Russell Wilson.
That motherfucker brought the same formula over there. First drive, go down, score 7, 3 field goals for the rest of the game.
So for me, it's just I'm going with, even though Carolina's bad, Denver's just as bad in my opinion. I'm picking Steve Wilkes in this one.
That's fair. Carolina has a very good defense as well. Denver's down 5 key players on offense.
I mean, you might have the best scoring defense in the league, but you have the worst scoring offense in the league.
It's not a great combination. One of these things doesn't belong here, you know.
And your offense couldn't do shit against a shitty Raiders defense.
Even in overtime, you still had 16 points.
And Carolina's defense is much better than Raiders.
Carolina did only put up 3 points against a Baltimore defense that can be shaky. But why isn't Baker playing?
I don't know. I don't know
what the fuck is going on?
What did I say a few weeks ago? This is going to be musical chairs at quarterback the rest of the season.
But I didn't think they were that incompetent. Well, Baker didn't get hurt. He threw for 200 yards. I mean,
both guys are going to be gone at the end of the year.
Holy shit, Carolina. Tampa Bay at 5-5. On the road at Cleveland 3-7. They're still fighting for their lives, man.
They're one game away from Deshaun coming back.
I got to give it to him last time.
I'm going Cleveland.
I'm going Cleveland last time.
Cleveland with the upset here, and the reason being is I think that Cleveland will be able to control the ball and utilize Chubb in that run game to dominate, not necessarily dominate, but really pound the rock against this Tampa Bay defense who's given up 4.5 yards per carry. That's just for me, that's what it comes down to.
Cleveland for sure needs a bounce back game in the run. Chubb was shut down last week.
And I think this is going to be the first game in a while where Cleveland has pretty majority, if not all, their core players healthy.
Brissett's coming off the game of his life. Hopefully he can build off that or stay, somewhat on course of that kind of performance. You got to do it 4-7. It's the only way you have a chance to get into the playoffs. Deshaun's going to have to be perfect when he gets back.
I think that's the message this week going into a game against Tampa Bay is we're fighting for our fucking lives here.
Yeah.
And we know we got Deshaun coming back next week. So we need a win here if we want a chance to sneak into the playoffs.
Absolutely need it. Stay in the AFC North. We have Baltimore at 7-3 on the road at Jacksonville 3-7. I think Jags are coming off a bye, so they got a little bit more time to prepare for us. I think we're gonna eke this one out, though. Like I said last week, we don't have the capability to blow anybody out, no matter how big the discrepancy is talent-wise. Maybe like 24-20 in this one, though. Jacksonville does have some pieces that I like. Etienne.
Yeah.
Lawrence has his moments.
For me, I got Baltimore in this one, but Jacksonville is definitely going to keep this one close because, they're a team on the rise still, and they've scored 17-plus points in all but one game this year. So they're going to be able to put up points. And so I think it's going to be close, but I do have Baltimore in this one because I think, Harbaugh is a better coach than Doug Peterson, and I trust Lamar getting the W by any means necessary. And even though the defense can be a little shaky, I do like them in crucial spots to hold their own. So
similar to you guys, but not as frequent. We do make plays when it matters in the fourth quarter in big clutch moments. So I do feel good about that aspect of our defense. Doug Peterson is a good coach. I think he'll have these guys ready to play. I didn't know that they scored 17 points in all their games this season, something we definitely can't say. I think it's going to be close, though. I still got us just barely. Last game in the AFC North for now. Cincinnati at 6-4 on the road at Tennessee, 7-3. This is the only game in this noon slot between two teams that are currently in the playoffs. So, on paper, best game of the day right here. I'm going to have to go, My heart's telling me Tennessee. My mind's telling me Cincinnati. I do think Cincinnati is a better team, and I think they'll end up pulling this one out.
This was the toughest one for me.
No question.
I definitely like the Bengals' chances against the Titans secondary, especially if they have Chase this week. But are
they supposed to be having Chase back?
He's supposed to start practicing, so it's looking like he has a chance to play.
Okay.
But I'm not totally sure if he'll actually get to that point because we're still pretty much, really early in the week when we do these
Mm.
episodes. So sometimes our picks kind of look uglier towards the end of the week when we hear injuries.
Kyler's not playing. Nice.
But I just really love what Tennessee is able to do, just because they know who they are, they stay true to it, and they always come up with some unique game plan to keep teams off balance, even with them being a run-heavy team. And I just have a feeling that Tennessee is going to pull this one off at home, so I like the Titans here.
Tennessee's kind of like the Giants to me, where I think they are a good team, but ultimately they're kind of fraudy, Cincinnati, their offense has been
clicking
lately.
If Burrow has a big game, they're going to win.
That's what I'm thinking, but this is what I was going to say. Tennessee, they really have the chance to prove it to me. If they're able to stop this offense who scored, 30 points plus the past 5 games. Joe Burrow's been looking like the best quarterback in the league behind Patrick Mahomes these past few weeks. If they can stop Cincinnati and win this game, then, I'll start to believe in Tennessee a little bit. But if it goes how I think it's going to go, Cincinnati by 10 or so, then I'm just going to keep feeling the same way about Tennessee and keep having that same feeling about Cincinnati as well, that they might be the best team in our division, even though we might end up winning it.
I agree. I'm not the biggest Tennessee fan just because, of how they do play, but I just like how they really.
They're Big Ten football.
I think Vrabel's a good coach. I think he's.
They're Wisconsin.
But yeah, they are a run heavy team, but the things they come up with, like handing it off to Henry to pass, jump pass to the end zone for a touchdown, like that type of stuff, that's what gets them over the hump most games, because they need to find ways like that to get in front of teams and keep it that way.
Yeah.
So if they can kind of do what they did against the Packers, I'm not saying the Bengals are as bad as the Packers, but in a way, I still, being a key AFC matchup has implications for seeding in the playoffs. I just have some reason I have a feeling that Tennessee pulls it off. I don't know why.
I don't know why either, but I mean, I can't even really disagree with it. It's just the way they play, they always have a chance to win, man. They're tough.
Yeah.
They're well coached. They have a run game that can kill you as the game goes on.
The biggest question mark for me is just that secondary holding up against the Bengals.
Especially if Jamar's back, but he will probably be a little limited in what he's able to do.
Right.
Atlanta at 5-6 on the road at Washington, 6-5. This will probably be one of the more intriguing games of the day.
It is.
I think I'll definitely be tuned into this one. I'm going to go ahead and go Atlanta to upset Washington and their hot streak.
For me, Atlanta's done a great job battling all year long, but I just think Washington is on a roll right now.
That defense is playing lights out right now.
And that's the thing. I love this defense against a Mariota-led offense, and you got Kyle Pitts out for the year.
I hesitated because of those 2 reasons right there.
And you're activating Chase Young this week. Not saying he's going to have a big role, but he just adds another element to that defensive front.
Yep.
I just don't think, and especially for me, I've never liked Atlanta being a road team and going into Washington on the East Coast. I don't like Atlanta's chances. I think this one could be more of a game that gets away from them and be more of a convincing win for Washington.
Those are all fair points. This was the hardest game for me to pick for all the reasons that you mentioned outside of Chase Young. I didn't even take that into consideration. I forgot he was coming back this game. So you're not going to get me off the fence, switch sides, but I can't argue with any of your reasoning behind that one. We have Houston at 1-8-1 on the road at Miami, 7-3. I mean, next.
There's nothing to say here. It's Miami.
The only thing I'm looking to see if they keep Tua upright again. I think he has no sacks suffered in the past 3-4 games. So
I think
it's the only stat I'm interested in for this one. See if Dameon Pierce gets more than 8 rush yards.
For me, it's Miami's defense can be very vulnerable at times, and I think this type of game going up against a quarterback like Davis Mills, who we're both pretty much out on for good. I just think that this is a great spot for a Miami defense to really smother an offense like this and get some confidence.
Similar to how you feel about this New England game. Just put it on them.
Yeah.
17-24 W. Leave no questions.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Chicago 3-8 on the road at the Jets, 6-4. Darnold's former team. I bet they wish they could have him back right now after Zach Wilson's last performance. I'm going to actually stay with my Chicago pick, even though this Jets defense is really, you know what, Justin Fields is hurt. I'm going with the Jets. I'm going with the Jets.
This is what I have, you know. I mean, I got the Jets in this one, but and it's just due to the fact that I really like this Jets defense, and I think they're getting on a roll. And with or without Justin Fields, I just like the Jets. It'll be more of a close game with Fields in the game, but I just believe the bad taste they have in their mouth after last game against New England, they're gonna want to, put a hurting on somebody, and
they're gonna want to, but they're probably not capable. Maybe,
but your biggest thing holding you back is Zach Wilson, and so I don't know if I don't know if it's too. I know it's only Tuesday, but I don't know if it's practices usually start tomorrow for the week. Maybe we hear something about Flacco being named starter for this week. I don't know, but if Flacco is named starter, I like the Jets even more.
Yeah, I almost talked myself into it till I remember that Justin Fields is dealing with their injury. I think that really is the difference in this game. I know the Jets got guys like Jermaine Johnson who can chase Josh Allen and Justin Fields, but this guy's a different animal right now. I don't think that would really matter. But not having him at 100%, I'm really wavering off the Chicago team right now, so I got Jets in this one.
And then if Fields is out, I think this will be more of a rout by the Jets because that defense will just...
Well, who's their backup?
I don't even know.
Maybe he's like a pure passer that we don't even know.
I doubt it.
Moody's going to have 130 yards.
Doubt it.
We'll see. It could be a Zappy situation. He looked good when he came in for Mac Jones. You never know. Moving on from the noon games, we'll go to the afternoon where we have the Chargers at 5-5 on the road at Arizona, 4-7. Both teams coming off a loss last week. Chargers definitely fought harder than the Cardinals did. I think that's because they're a better team, so I'm going to go ahead and take them to defeat the Cardinals in this one.
Yeah, for me, I think this kind of feels like a game that the Cardinals can win, but I'm just so hesitant with them that I can't pick them. I got to go Chargers. And, I don't like what's going on in LA right now with the Chargers, but I definitely don't like what's going on in Arizona with the Cardinals. So I have to go Chargers in this one. It's just plain and simple. Even if Kyler Murray plays, I still like the Chargers. I just, they're in shambles.
Las Vegas, 3-7 on the road at Seattle, 6-4. You're gonna have to play the Chiefs for me to get off this one. I got the Seahawks, man.
Yeah, I have the Seahawks in this one. We all know what Geno's been doing all year long. I think he continues to do that this game, but I think it's going to be more of a storyline in regards to Kenneth Walker having a big game, especially a bounce-back game against coming off. I mean, they're coming off a bye, but the previous game against the Bucs where he just didn't do nothing.
Yeah, he disappeared.
I think against a very bad Raiders defense that has a chance to go off this week.
Yeah, Raiders, they showed a little bit of life last week, but like I said, a little too late. Seattle, right at the top of that NFC South or NFC West. So
and it's a must-win game to keep pace with San Fran.
Yeah, because San Francisco looks like they found the new gear, and they're going to be running away with this if you start losing these games. So Seattle in this one. LA Rams at Kansas City, 3-7 at 8-2. Kansas City coming off a big win at the Chargers. LA losing 20-27 to New Orleans last week, losing Stafford. We already know they're without Kupp. Probably going to be sitting Stafford for the rest of the year. They're probably out of playoff contention now, so I don't see this one being much of a contest. This is going to fall right in line with that Houston-Miami game for me. Probably a 17, 20-point win.
Yeah, just keeping it simple. I don't have to dive into this one. It's Kansas City.
What do you think Mahomes' numbers would be? Just give me that.
Against this Rams team, I'll say 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and he has about 45 rushing yards.
How many sacks?
I'll say 1.
Donald?
Yeah.
New Orleans, 4-7 on the road at your favorite team right now, San Francisco, 6-4. Now, New Orleans is a team who is very talented. They're a quarterback away. They probably dug themselves too big of a hole. San Fran's looking pretty good right now after these new additions, after the trade deadline. I think they keep on rolling.
Yeah, I have San Fran in this one. I don't think this one's going to be a close game at all. I just think that this elite Niners defense is going to be way too much for Andy Dalton.
I think it has a chance to be close because New Orleans does have a respectable defense. They always show up to play. If Andy Dalton keeps his head out of his ass, he did have a very good game last week. I mean, I'm just not that confident in Jimmy Garoppolo to feel like this team is going to blow everybody out.
I'm not saying they're going to blow everyone out. I just think with where New Orleans is at this point in the season, I think they have that kind of feeling in the back of their head, like, okay, we're kind of done,
right?
And they're not going to be playing up to their full potential.
That makes sense. I can see that happening too. 2 more games. Sunday Night Football. We have Green Bay at 4-7 on the road at Philly 9-1. Philly will be wearing their all-black helmets, so I'm excited to see that. That's probably the only thing I'll be excited to see out of this game. I got Philly running away with this one.
I would say I would more comfortable saying it would be a runaway if Goddard was in the lineup.
Fair enough.
I'd feel more but I think the Packers have a chance to keep this one close. I think the last 2 games we've seen Philly kind of come back to earth and show that they're beatable, that they're human, that they're not invincible. I have Philly winning this game, but I'm not comfortable saying this is going to be a runaway.
I mean, it is kind of disrespectful for me to say that about Aaron Rodgers. I should always give him a chance, but the same way you kind of felt about New Orleans, I feel about this Packers team. And if anybody's going to check out on a team, unfortunately, it is 12. So
yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I think the piss poor showing they had against the Titans, that being prime time, this being another prime time game,
that being on his shoulders,
it's
too.
gonna be a Aaron Rodgers get back game where he's showing people why he's still 12.
We'll see.
And he's not going to want to be outdueled by Jalen Hurts.
Monday Night Football, we have Pittsburgh 3-7 on the road at Indy 4-6-1.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Saturday in his 3rd game as coach. Tomlin might be the longest tenure coach outside of Bill Belichick in the league, so quite a difference in experience in this one with one team, I should say. Because I don't know, I think Andy Reid's been around for quite some time as well, but Indy's been playing well under Jeff Saturday. I didn't think I'd say I would take this team, and it's because I'm not. I got Pittsburgh Steelers winning this game.
I have Pittsburgh in this one as well. For me, I like what Pitt's offense did last week against the Bengals. They're showing signs of improvement. Tomlin's coming out saying that Pickett's improving in all aspects of his game, and what it comes down to ultimately for me is
he's got 2 games, man.
I like a very experienced Tomlin-led team over a Jeff Saturday, being inexperienced the way he is. So, I like the grit that Indy is showing and how they're playing under Jeff Saturday right now, but I don't think it's going to be enough to squeak by Pittsburgh.
Unless they're playing the Chiefs or somebody really, really good. Mm-hmm. Even though they stayed in the game against Cincinnati, so I wouldn't even say that, but I'm really banking on Pittsburgh to hit that 500 mark again. Something I want to see for sure.
I think it's possible. I just think Tomlin is too good of a coach to let his team slip down into the abyss. Like, he just is, he's very experienced. He's a very smart coach. He gets his guys ready to play. I mean, it's a testament to him getting his guys to put up 30 points against a Pittsburgh Bengals team.
Yeah, that was impressive. One of the surprises of the week for me, honestly. I mean, I didn't think that offense was capable. I think they do have the players, but Pickett played well, and Najee Harris had 2 touchdowns.
The key factor is Najee being effective. It's just
you can't just be there. You got to do something.
And I've said, I've been, a guy saying all year long that I just don't think he's that in that tier of being a running back who is a game changer or a bell cow. He hasn't looked that part, but if he can keep up and build off of what he did last Sunday, this team can be right around 500 for sure.
He's almost the exact same running back that James Conner is.
Yeah.
I kind of figured they'd want to go in a little bit of a different direction. Maybe they were expecting Najee to be, more of a quick twitch guy, more fast than he is, but he's more of a Josh Jacobs, James Conner kind of guy. 4'6", power runner, straight line.
Right.
I might hurdle you to get into the end zone, but that's about all the athleticism you'll see from me. Anything else on these games before we get to Gravediggers?
No, it's going to be another interesting week. I mean, it's not
it isn't. It's not the greatest slate of games. All the good games are on Thanksgiving, really.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
and I'm being a food coma by 4 o'clock.
Yeah, it's not the greatest slate of games. I'm more excited for Thanksgiving. But there could be some things that make this interesting after Sunday.
No question. I don't have much to say. I mean, I am looking forward to Thanksgiving. I think a couple of teams will bounce back. I obviously want to see my team dominate Jacksonville, but I will probably, unfortunately, be watching this Tennessee-Cincinnati game just because I have a lot invested in who wins that one. So that's what I'll be tuned into on Sunday. Right now, though, we'll get into Gravediggers. We are going into Week 12. Teams that we have eliminated from the playoffs so far are Houston, Chicago, Green Bay, Carolina, Washington, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Denver, Vegas, and the Detroit Lions. I have a few teams up for contention. Arizona, the Los Angeles Rams, Cleveland Browns, Indianapolis Colts, and the New Orleans Saints. I'm sure we have similar teams up for contention. Without your best weapon, without your quarterback, yeah, you won the Super Bowl last year, but I think it's time that you're dealt with, man. Los Angeles Rams are out of here for me.
Yeah, you got to cut bait. I mean, it's just not, it's not getting any better, and they look like one of the worst teams in the league this year, which is so unfortunate after the year they had last year. But like I mentioned to you the other day, I just think they put themselves in such a shitty position with trading all those draft picks for guys that now don't even look like superstars.
Well, you know, the word in the offseason, Aaron Donald was really considering retirement. Sean McVay was considering a booth job or something like that. So McVay came back for the players. The players came back because who wins a Super Bowl and retires and breaks up the team like that? But if your hearts aren't in it, this is a game where you cannot do that.
I was just going to say, like, it just seems all year long that these guys have been checked out from the jump. Like, I don't hear enough about Jalen Ramsey. I don't hear enough about Aaron Donald. Stafford's been battling through everything from sun up to sundown. Like, injuries, just hasn't been playing well.
Jalen Ramsey's probably fallen from a top 3 DB to a top 10 DB. Donald, I don't know. He was on a pedestal all by himself, but now there's a couple of guys you could probably put in that conversation. Simons, maybe Chris Jones.
They're not the game changers that we're used to seeing.
Right. They both maybe lost a step. Maybe that's just motivation. Maybe that's scheme. Maybe that's just age, attrition, whatever it may be.
You know, and when you do win a Super Bowl and have a season like last year, I don't think the off season's long enough for you because it takes a lot out of you to have a season like that.
Yeah, that and your quarterback comes into the season unhealthy, so you're already behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
You've never been able to find a run game. You still haven't found a run game.
And
you're benching Cam Akers. Your coach talks bad about him in week 2, but he's your starter in week 11 still. I mean, it's just a whole bunch of dysfunction and lack of talent around there.
And they just cut Darrell Henderson today.
Did they? Is there anything good to say? I don't even like the uniforms anymore. Go back to the old Steven Jackson dark blue gold uniforms. I don't like this neon yellow.
I hate them. They're ugly. And then you got like the
blue
fake
on the
leather.
White. Oh, this shit is just so ugly, man.
Like they ruined that. They ruined that franchise with those uniforms. I mean, I get you want to pay homage to the old school, but the old school was 10 times better than those. Like, but I do miss seeing that navy with the gold. Like those were clean. I think
Torrey Holtz, Marshall Faulks, even the navy with the gold. I mean not the gold, but like the yellow, the Eric Dickerson style shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, those are the ones I like. I hate this new.
It looks like too 2020-ish. You know what I'm saying? 2020-ish.
People in every sport these days just try to pay homage to the classics, but they ruin it because they try to be so modern with it. And it just comes out bad, and I don't like it. But the Rams are the epitome of ruining uniforms because I've never, since they were dropped, what is up with the shiny, like, fake leather type of shit on your uniforms?
Those whites with the blue lettering are the ugliest thing I've seen, man.
I don't like it. And then the new, like, Ram logo where it's like split in half,
sometimes you just do too much, man. Simple is better sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you know,
that
like
said,
your roster
though,
too, you know. You got all these superstars. Maybe you should have just built through the draft, got some solid free agents so you're not in the situation that you're in right now. I think personally, going forward with no draft picks, with aging superstars that may or may not want to be there, a coach who's maybe has a foot out the door already, you're in the worst situation in the league, I think. I understand that the talent is there and there's teams that don't have the talent there, like Houston or, you know, Jacksonville in some people's eyes, but this talent's not going to be there for long. And while they are there, they're not playing up to their standards.
And every year you can't go into each season saying we're going to trade for 2 guys this year.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're going to run out of draft picks even well into the future at some point. Like, I just think it's that part of it. I think it's a, like, piss poor business decision going into trying to just pick off teams for players. Like, you got to have homegrown talent to be a good team.
I agree, and I don't even want to compare it to the NBA, but Lakers are about to tip off. They've done the same thing. We starting Patrick Beverley, Troy Brown, and Austin Reeves tonight, along with AD. So I mean, it's just lack of talent, man. We're void of talent. We have no depth, similar to the Los Angeles Rams. So when that's happening and your stars start to get hurt, Matt Stafford, LeBron, Anthony Davis, whoever else, Cooper Kupp, there's nothing you can do. You have no depth.
Yep.
You have no continuity. Half your guys don't even want to be there this year. I got you on the chopping block this week.
Yeah, I think that was the easiest call this week, I think, for Gravediggers. It's just 3-7. It's not looking any better. I don't see them getting past 5 or 6 wins.
And Detroit has your pick this year. So if you go 4-13,
Detroit set up nice for the future.
Detroit set up real nice for the future. That's just, yeah, man. You're done. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, man. Just excited to see how these playoff seedings start to shake out. I mean, you know, the season's been flying by. We're almost to that point in the year, and
I know
before you know it, we're going to be here talking about off-season acquisitions and drafts. So I'm trying to enjoy it while it lasts.
Right around the corner for sure. I like this one. We kept it under an hour. Good by me. Until next time.
All right.